A Yoruba hello and welcome to Info Hub on the eve of Emancipation 2018. Our lead stories this evening: Prime Minister Nagamutu support UG's constitutional education project. Animal welfare bill passes in the National Assembly. 2 newly licensed radio stations to go on air in August. Sandpit operators to receive formal training from GGMC. And African ancestors get tributes as libations usher in Emancipation 2018. And now for the details. Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu pledges support for the University of Guyana's constitutional education project after a meeting with the institution's administrators.
The University of Guyana Principal and Vice Chancellor Professor Ivelaw Griffith and Deputy Vice Chancellor Planning and International Engagement Dr. Barbara Reynolds this morning met with Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu at his office. The meeting centered around the university's constitutional education project, to which Prime Minister Nagamutu pledged financial, technical and logistic support. The UG project proposes a nationwide public education campaign led by the University of Guyana with civil society's involvement. Prime Minister Nagamutu said the initiative has his office full support.
We want to be able to contribute to the sensitizing program. We want to contribute to the educational program to deal with the issue that raised that Guyanese don't know what is in their constitution for a start.
One of the main components of the project is a countrywide survey. The survey would gauge the levels of knowledge and understanding of the Constitution and constitutional reform, while also identifying key areas for reform. Professor Ivelaw Griffith.
Critical to the education component of this is a survey. To really have a baseline sense of what people know, what people don't know.
Yes.
We didn't think it was a good idea to go spend money starting educating without having an understanding across the nation, because we don't want this just to be a coastal exercise, just to be a Region 4, Region 5, Region 6. So part of the design of this is to first do a survey, have a sense of what are the information gaps in what communities, and then build a communications education plan.
The project is expected to be rolled out over a 2-year period, 2018-2019, with the aim of fostering informed dialogue and educating the public on constitutional issues. Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu also donated a sum of his extensive book collection to the university. Gabriella Patram for InfoHub.
The Ministry of Public Telecommunications notes the publication of a Notice to Mariners No. 15, 2018 by the Maritime Administration Department indicating that maritime surveys shall be conducted by 2 vessels, and I quote, on behalf of eNetworks Incorporated as preparatory works for subsea cable laying within the Guyana Maritime Zone, end of quote. The ministry wishes to advise that while the interest of investors in the sector is welcomed, no license for the laying and landing of a subsea cable system has been granted to eNetworks Incorporated. The ministry has advised that applications for licenses to lay and land subsea cable systems and or other major telecommunications operations by any entity that does not currently hold a telecommunications license will be considered in accordance with the provisions of the Telecommunications Act 2016. The National Assembly last evening passed the Animal Welfare Bill, which seeks to reform the way animal welfare is dealt with in Guyana. Seneca Thorne tells us more.
Prior to its passing, the House adopted a report which was prepared by the Special Select Committee on the Animal Welfare Bill. The committee examined the bill clause by clause and sought technical support. During the bill's consideration, Minister George Norton noted that the opposition members expressed concerns with regards to several of the bill's clauses and its implementation after it would have been enacted.
The members were of the view that many of these concerns should be addressed before the passage of the bill and its enactment. Some of the concerns raised by the members of the opposition were as follows. Regulations which dealt with issues such as animal handlers, trainers, and the transport of animals should be available before the passage of the bill.
Minister of Agriculture Noel Holder expressed satisfaction with the bill, noting that of 40 clauses, 21 were amended and 3 new ones were added.
It's in that context that we bring this bill to this House. The concerns of the opposition are well taken, but we cannot sort of institute standards that don't exist. The bill comes first. The implementation could be postponed after the other things the opposition mentioned have been put in place, education and things of that nature.
The bill will address issues relating to the domestic animals' well-being, especially with regards to their shelters, food supply, and humane treatment. The Animal Welfare Bill 2006 will also reform animal welfare laws in ways that are synonymous with the European Union standards so as to promote trade. Shanika Thorne, InfoHub.
2 new radio stations are expected to be on air by August this year. And today, the Guyana National Broadcasting Authority visited the recently licensed broadcasters to check on the progress being made. Here's that report from Anara Khan.
2 more licensed radio stations are expected to go on air by the end of August 2018 and one by December 2018. These are Brutal Communications Incorporated of Brutal Track Records and Blackman & Sons Incorporated. During a follow-up visit by the Guyana National Broadcasting Agency, Chairman Leslie Sobers stated that they were given until the end of July to have their operations fully established.
We have discovered that that was probably a little too short a time for them, and the extended time is now by August month end.
Sobers said that the purpose of these visits is to ensure that the agencies are working towards a state of readiness.
We expect that the frequencies will be properly utilized in accordance with the license and not be hoarded. So that if we find that a broadcaster is not using his frequency, we may be inclined to revoke the license. And with the revocation of the license, then the frequency would have to be withdrawn.
The GNBA chairman visited 5 out of the 6 newly licensed radio stations today, but was only able to meet with 3 of the 5 broadcasters. It was noted that due to unforeseen circumstances, CNS Inc. is set to start broadcasting in December 2018. For InfoHub, Anara Khan.
For the first time, sandpit operators will receive formal training from the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission, GGMC, as part of reforming quarrying operations. Here's this Tiffany Rogers report.
Ministry and GGMC officials met with sandpit operators today. Minister within the Ministry of Natural Resources, Simona Brooms, said training is one aspect the ministry will explore. The training will include setting up safe operations and calculations for quantities extracted.
I'm going to recommend that when we go on site also in these pit, the officers talk to the operator, the persons on ground, say, listen, this is what we're measuring, this is how it is done. So even practically on ground, they can get, start to have some training in that regard.
Minister Brooms is leading efforts to ensure greater compliance in the quarrying sector. She's also seeking to have outstanding royalties, which are owed to GGMC, paid. The GGMC is mulling reintroducing a monthly payment system, according to Acting Mines Manager Krishna Ramdas.
We have devised a system where we have set out a payment slip system. On a monthly basis, the operator would purchase a payment book from us, and they would use slips. I don't know if you guys could recall this. And what that really did, was to, at the end of the month, they would have to come and redeem that book or slips to GGMC and pay off their royalty for that month. You had a 5-day grace that led you into the next month.
Many of the quarry operators the minister met with agreed to work with the ministry to ensure greater compliance in their operations. For InfoHub, Tiffany Rogers.
Hello, sir. You can't be smoking with passengers in the car. I got me little child in there. I mean, I can't smoke in your own car.
You know it's against the law for taxi drivers and minibus drivers to smoke, especially when you got a child under 16 in the car.
If you don't like it, go come out my car, man.
Just to let you know, the law states that even if you're in a car alone, you can't smoke because the fumes can get into the fabric and affect your passengers.
Let's all work together to prevent cigarette smoking related illnesses.
Thanks for staying with us. In the near future, vehicle scales will be placed along hinterland roads to better enforce road limits and ease destruction caused by heavily laden vehicles. More in this report.
As part of efforts to enforce weight limits on hinterland roads, the Ministry of Public Infrastructure will install vehicle scales along interior roadways. Minister of Public Infrastructure David Patterson said his ministry already has heavy-duty scales which will be placed at key locations.
It's interior, so therefore I have to put them by a police station, because you can't have, some set of technicians stopping people, stopping truck drivers or persons who may be don't want to stop. So it has to be by a police station.
New police outposts will be constructed along hinterland roads, and Minister Patterson plans to engage the relevant authorities to assist with the necessary adjustments.
Where the current police stations are, they're not geared to stop traffic on the road. They're there to police in your communities. So therefore, there's no, say for instance, in Kokwani, Linden, there's no police station or outpost on that road. So those are the challenges. So I have to work along with various agencies to get it. But it is coming, and when it comes, I do hope to be supported.
Drivers are reminded not to travel with overweight vehicles. Hinterland residents are also advised to watch out for and report overweight vehicles. Renetta LaFleur for InfoHub.
As Guyanese prepare to celebrate 180 years of emancipation, reparations for descendants of enslaved Africans continue to be a burning issue. Here is Renetta LaFleur to tell us more.
This issue was discussed last evening at the University of Guyana's 6th Conversation on Law and Society. The University of the West Indies Director for the Center for Reparation Research, Professor Vereen Shepherd, led the discussion. She said the reparation issue remains very relevant and is more focused on the Caribbean.
The concept of reparation is a part of the theory of justice, known as restorative justice. And this concept of justice emphasizes repairing the harm caused or revealed by criminal action. A part of identifying and taking steps to repair harm is to unequivocally acknowledge that wrong was done and to make amends.
Rear Admiral retired Gary Best said the reparation process must begin in Guyana. Best believes it is the duty of the state to provide partial reparations as partial restorative process.
First, we were kidnapped and illegally transported to this part of the world from our lands. Secondly, we indigenized the lands for over 200 years, and at the end of that period of indigenization, those lands were not handed to us. Thirdly, at the point of independence, only our Amerindian brothers received reparative justice, partially through the Amerindian Act, where lands were provided to them.
The discussion ended with a questioning and answering segment. The discussions are intended to increase awareness and start conversations on various issues deemed relevant to today's society. Renetta LaFleur for InfoHub.
Last evening, IFA's House of Santeria held its first night of libation, paying their respects to the Creator and ancestors. InfoHub was there to get a glimpse of the activity.
The libation ceremony is an African spiritual practice that has survived in today's Guyanese society. Bishop Andrew Irving of the African Mystical Council, prior to the event, gave InfoHub some details.
What we are doing here tonight in linking consciousness with the African Cultural Development Association as they celebrate their 25th year in doing emancipation and all their African things, community leadership and all such like. We are focusing mainly more so on heroes and heroines of Guyana.
At the ceremony, they honored persons like Ptolemy Reed, Viola Burnham, Lyndon Forbes, Samson Burnham, Arthur Chung, David Rose, among others.
We do this for them that in turn we will be honored having drawn ashe from them, having drawn that strength and resolve that we too now will fight against tyranny and any other form of oppression that will hinder us from living a good life.
As the event continued, it saw participants in a circle performing the ritual observing their culture. Here's what some had to say.
Well, I'm honored. I get to learn a little more about our ancestors and their legacy.
And it's our culture, and we're always supposed to be in the midst of it.
Well, this is a part of activity that I was grew up in, and it's a pleasure to me to worship and honor my ancestors.
The event continued last night under the theme A Kaleidoscope of Colors to honor the elements of water, air, fire, and earth. Tonight there will be a grand cultural presentation, candlelight procession, and a grand libation to usher in the Emancipation Day. For InfoHub, Stefan Gabriel.
Do remember that the government and the Berbice Association of African Groups will host emancipation celebrations tomorrow at the Union Village Sports Complex in Quarantine, Berbice. President David Granger is slated to attend. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu will be gracing the event at the National Park. The public is invited to attend both events. We leave you with your bridge and weather reports. And as we say, Odabo, Yoruba for goodbye. On behalf of the InfoHub team, we hope you have a safe and happy emancipation celebration tomorrow. Odabo.